Kibler!
The Great Dark Beyond launches tomorrow, so we're all wondering, what should I play when it drops? Nah, I'm just fucking playing. This suspension is nuts, and there's so many things to mess around with, and a lot of powerful stuff, high-impact legendaries, tribes, and this guy. So I'm just gonna start right off with him, because this guy is absolutely bonk. This list is in no particular order, but I have to make sure I don't forget to mention the Ceaseless Expanse, because there's so much going on with this card. This effectively becomes a 15/15 Soul Stealer at whatever given point later in the game, depending on what deck each player is playing, since it's symmetrical. This card accelerates its cost down with the increase of minion deaths, cards drawn, and cards played, but it's because of its symmetry, meaning if you're playing this card to turbo out and your opponent happens to have it in their deck too, you basically have turned it online for them, and all future copies of it, if you're able to, will also be 0. Which brings me to just a couple cards that I think will be cool with it. Holy Wrath, Forge of Will, Shadow Step, Breakdown, Sturdy Rat, Igneous Lava Gorger, Creation Protocol, Asteroids, any rogue deck ever, any druid deck ever, Black Rock and Roll, Charge, exclamation point, Spirit of the Badlands, and for the unks in the chat, Defender of Argus. And I'm sure I'm still missed some, but this card is going to warp the meta around it because this card's going to warp the meta around it because it's going to be in every deck ever, and you're not running him, you're going to get inherently punished for it. Number 2, Airlock Breach / Exar Maladar. What the fuck? Number 3, no, I'm just playing. I bunched these cards together because they're both so good for the same reasons. They are both incredibly strong on their own. They're corpse spenders, and they're both ruined for Rainbow DK. Airlock Breach is basically Vampiric Blood, but instead of paying 2 for a card, you pay 6 for 2 5/5s with Taunt. 6 mana for 10/10 and Taunt, and 10 max life with barely a setup. You just need 5 corpses, which is absolutely nothing. Like, dude, if you're playing DK and you don't have 5 corpses by turn 6, you've been passing all 5 turns. Like, a mining casualties and a hero power gets you there, you know, like. And Maladar is arguably more nuts because he can cheat out a 10 cost card for what most of the time is going to be free. Any card, not spell, not minion, just anything. And if you spend his mana cheat on CNE, it does actually add the 10 stats to the card, but upgrade before it sends it to the enemy's dome, which is just bonkers. And both these cards are powerful on their own, but they're going to push Rainbow DK to be so fucking good for their entire... I was gonna say for their entire standard lifetime, but I guess it's only for this expansion, so... But even when it rotates out, they're still going to be played in every DK deck that has the correct rune requirement. Number 3, Blazing Accretion. If Elemental Mage wasn't already a strong deck, we get a huge package for this expansion, aiming towards including fire spells, and in that deck, this is a 3-mana 3/1 elemental that just draws 3 on Battlecry, which is fucking bonkers. Like, a 3-mana draw on a stick, which keeps your Lamplighter going, is so good. And there's just not much else to say. It's so good, and it's gonna push whatever fire spell Elemental Mage deck that gets optimized. Like, it's gonna push that deck so far. Number 4, Exar Neel. I don't think it's much of a surprise that this card's on here. Everyone was just losing their shit on Reddit when it dropped, and that's kind of fair, because I was too. This is low-key one of the most subtly powerful cards in the set. Nothing super flashy or huge like the Ceaseless Expanse, but it's equally as jaw-dropping, to be honest. Because turning your hero power into 1-mana to discover a card from your deck is just so fucking awesome. Like, this is low-key every player's wet dream. You give up 2 mana deal 2 to the face for a perma copy of Tracking as your hero power. Like, that's so good. Like, it's so fun. Like, you're like, oh man, I wish my hand didn't suck ass. Let me just find a card real quick. And, like, this can fit across every 100 deck ever, aside from an aggro deck that is completely contingent on steamrolling before the Unkilliax turn. On top of that, she's a spider tank. Like, you're not even sacrificing any kind of stats for that. Like, she's so good, and it's gonna see play in every 100 deck ever. She's simply goated. There's not much else to say. Number 5. Libram of Divinity. And this card, like, what the fuck? We thought Librams were good before, but now this is one deck that is going to get pushed so hard because of this card. Because, like, 2-3 of the Libram discount cards from this expansion will get this to 0 so fast. And you can also tutor it with up to 2 to 4 chances of tutoring it from your deck with Interstellar Researcher. So, like, you get this so consistently, and it's pretty easy to get this to 0. And then suddenly you just have 1 or 2 permanent +3/+3 on a minion every turn, which scales up so fast for decks that just aren't removal heavy. It's so much free stats, and it's gonna overwhelm other tempo decks. And there's also no way of getting these yoinked. Like, Lemur of Wisdom could get yoinked because it would give it Death Rattle, so it could get silenced, poofed, stolen, anything, right? But this doesn't have that. It's just, it gets casted directly and then it gets added to your hand at the end of your turn. So the only way over this is counterspell, or if you mess up with your hand size and overdraw it, which is, there's like such a specific interaction where that happens, so it's probably not going to happen that way. Like, it's just a cherry on top. Like, this Libram decks are going to be so good, and they're probably going to get something else in the mini set, so I can expect this card to be fucking everywhere. Number 6, Quazar. I'm positive you've seen this deck scam people out of existence, like on a theorycraft video, or like one I'm putting in the background. Yeah, it can do that. If Quazar Rogue is anything above a 50, nah, fuck no, probably more like 46% win rate, then this card could be like something we just end up loathing playing against. This is a pretty expensive upfront cost, but to support you getting there, there's Prep, Greedy Partner, Metal Detector, Dart Throw. And once you have it online, it's easy to construct your deck in a way that you can just draw its entire self with Knick-Knack Shack and just everything else Rogue has. And you kind of just OTK your opponent if you're playing the right deck. There's going to be a bunch of ways to do that. This deck isn't playable at launch. It will only continue to get better in Standard, and especially in Wild as time goes on. There's so much game-breaking potential, it's kind of ridiculous. I bet money that within the next year or two, this card gets banned in Wild. Not in Standard, definitely, but definitely in Wild. Number 7, Ethereal Oracle. Another what the fuck entry, because this card is just so good for no reason. They decided to give absolute GOAT status to a neutral common. It's a 3-drop with spell power +1 and spell burst to draw 2 spells, which is just so good. Any burn deck or asteroid deck or Quazar Rogue, like, this is so powerful, and I don't think that it needs much more explanation. Like, any cheap spell, you draw your damage spells or whatever, and then you have spell power +1. It just does both with no setup. It's so good. Number 8, kill Jaden. I love Jaden Smith. This card is fucking awesome, dude. Infinite fatigue protection, big demons, perfect. Like, Kill Jaden's portal is super interesting because it functions with other cards that tutor minions or interact with demons. It's basically like a 30-card deck of random demons that updates every time you start a new turn, but it also is completely immune to plagues, bombs, and the fucking bombs from Boom Boss. Thank God. And I hate Boom Boss so much, bro. So this plus Archimond and Wheel of Death and a big like life-getting starship, and you have a recipe for a really fun, really consistent, greedy control warlock, and it's just gonna be so fun to play. I'm definitely gonna do that because Kill Jaden is such a cool freaking card, and I cannot wait to play him. At number 9, the Exodar. I promise this is actually the last legendary on the list, but the legendaries in this expansion are just so good. Especially the neutral ones for some reason. I don't know why. But this card pushes all the Starship decks in the format into the realm of playability because it gives them a huge payoff with either the big random damage missiles, huge armor, or you get all the pieces of your ship back to your hand and mana cheating them all to 1, which is great alongside the fact that it launches your Starship for you, which is like, I mean, this million stats aren't great, but it basically saves you 5 mana when you play it, because it launches the Starship for you and then gives you the effect. And there's just so much value opportunity because the low cost parts that it can give you will also just give you an entire new Starship on the board. And it's so much cheaper than the first one. Like, it's just so good. And then you could even bounce the Exodar with Shadow Step, Breakdance, and shit, even Saloon Brewmaster in any that gives you can do that in any neutral deck that runs, or sorry, any neutral deck, any Starship deck. You can run that and you can bounce it and you can just do not infinite but like pseudo infinite Starship shenanigans. I think that's so fun. Like, they didn't have to go that hard with the card, but they did, and I love that they did. It's so versatile and high value, and every Starship class gets it, and it's gonna be everywhere. And number 10, hear me out. I told you it wasn't gonna be a legendary. Hostile Invader. I have not seen enough people talk about this card yet, which is low-key nuts, because this card is low-key nuts. Like, this card gives such easy and high-efficient board clear to Warrior, and it curves perfectly from 3 to 4 after playing New Heights. It shits on the Elemental Mage because they played the 4-drop that fills their board with 3/2s. Boom, gone. They want to stick a board, you still have your Hostile Invader, you just proc your Spell Burst, and boom, you deal 2. And then if they're ever eventually able to come over that hump and kill it, then they have to take another 2. It is such a huge, like, roadblock in any aggro deck. They just have to deal with it, and they're going to take 4 to 6 AoE damage on their board. Like, there's no reason for this card to do that much damage to the board with the stats that it has. It's so nuts. And I don't know, giving Warrior more control cards is fucking scary, because I already hate Control Warrior, but this is more like, you know, answer the board rather than like another way to copy Unkiliac. So I guess it's fun. It's really good, and I'm kind of scared of it, but I couldn't find anybody playing in the Theorycraft, so enjoy more Roffle. And those are my thoughts on the most scary looking cards of the expansion, and I can't wait to play with Kill Jaden, like, Ayo. I'm definitely making a ton of homebrews with all the new stuff, and I hope you do too. There's a lot of cool shit, and I'm excited. And it launches tomorrow, and I mean, when this video goes up, it might already be up, so